Here's where it starts. We have to press to start Minecraft Rube Goldberg machine for Team Spark. Well, press to start Team Spark Rube Goldberg machine.
Activate the sprinkler! Ooh, rainbow sprinkles.
Now we are going into the intestines of an alligator. Yuck.
Hello, welcome to our Rube Goldberg machine from World Earth.
And the potato is going to a slime bouncer, going up and up and up.
Our birthday present is a big Rube Goldberg machine.
We're going to start it right now. Let's go.
Well, hello and welcome everyone. I just love every time I laugh when I watch that video. It's so fantastic. Talk about kids nailing it when it comes to understanding humor in story.
My favorite part of that video, I gotta just while I have this moment, because we've watched it like 3 times or 4 times on streams now, is that we zoom in on the one clip from one of the machines that says "Be nice to animals," and in the very next clip, you see llamas swinging from ropes. So no animals were actually harmed in the making of these Minecraft builds.
Right, exactly, for sure. Well, welcome to today's live stream. I'm Claire LeBeau. I am the Chief Marketing Officer for NASAF. And excited, as always, to be joined by these two fabulous people as we dive into what it means to build a Rube Goldberg machine in Minecraft. So let's do some quick introductions. How about Jennifer?
Oh, well, I'm here, as I always say, by accident of birth. Rube was my grandfather, and I'm sort of like the overseer of all things Rube, including what goes on here. I don't actually do the hands-on stuff, but I'm always here to make sure that we're in the guardrails of Rube Goldberg. So I leave the rest up to Eric and company, and I pass the baton to you.
I appreciate it. So hi, I'm Eric. I also go as River, and I feel like that's going to get confusing eventually. But if they keep seeing my Minecraft avatar on screen, eventually they'll go, "Oh, that's that guy." But 20-year educator and now the education content producer for Clever Like Studios, and I've always been really excited and love being part of all the Minecraft events that NASAF puts on, and this one is just so much fun. And honestly, I've spent the last few weeks combing through some of the preseason submissions, but there's nothing like getting the big builds. There's nothing like getting the big build. It's the best. So I cannot wait to watch those. I know we're like a month away, so I'm already hyped. I can't wait to watch every single one of them.
Suspense is building already, right? And even, as we said, even watching the video that we just saw, we've seen those builds dozens of times, and every time they make us laugh, they make us watch closely. Where is it going now?
And they make
looking
us
forward
remember
to
the
many
full-
of those.
They make us remember the full machine run because we've all seen them. And when you submit, all of us will be seeing your build. So we can't wait to see them.
Like, I'm never forget that like birthday llama video, that initial llama's name is Jerry. I'm never going to forget the name of that llama. Jerry the llama. It's in my brain forever.
And I will never forget the potato family, with all the potato family members celebrating the potato's birthday.
It makes you wonder what information we've lost to store that new exciting information, right? Did I forget like my second grade teacher's name or whatever? Or,
nope, Mrs. Estes. I still
my
got
old
it.
address, and I was like, now Jerry the llama is in there.
That's fantastic. You know what, though? I want to encourage students We are real people watching your builds, appreciating the work that you're putting into it, seeing the education and the learning. You are figuring out a whole lot about science and engineering and physics while you're having fun and learning to tell stories. And we see that and we acknowledge that and we honor that work that you're putting in. And we can't wait to see what you've done. So let's go ahead and dive in. Today, we're going to go through a bit of the requirements of what the big build is going to be. So, Eric, should I add this to the stream?
Yeah, let's go for it.
For it.
So the big build, right? Now, admittedly, we've already announced it's like literally in the corner of the slide. It's on my screen over here. We've already announced what the big build challenge is, but we'll dig into it a little bit more. But we want to kind of just go over, get you hyped, and remind you of some of the things that you should consider when doing your build. So hopefully everyone is either in the midst of their build or about to get started on their build. You know, got a month to go, which is plenty of time. So I don't want anyone to stress. It's plenty of time, but you want to start planning. And making sure you know exactly like, you know, what your deadlines are and what you need to include and what everyone's role is on your team to get this stuff done and make it the magical experience you want it to be. Because, and going back to watching them and having fun, we have the most fun watching them when we can tell when we watch them that you were having fun when you created it. That's like if you want a way to like pull a Jedi mind trick on us, just sound like you were having the best time ever when you record your machine, and we will believe it.
It's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's talk about what we're looking for in there, right? So that's one of the things I would say we're looking for is we want to know you're having fun with it, but what does all of that look like if we really pull it apart and look at every little aspect? And this is what I'm talking about, right? That's that first impression. Like, does it have a wow factor? Do I look at what you built and go, oh, that is so cool? Like, or I didn't even think to do that. Like, what's the wow factor? And to be honest, it can be visual. It can be the auditory, right? If you capture our attention with your voiceover or your narrative, if you've got like, you know, I know that, you know, especially kids when we were in school, K-12 school, we learned like, oh, you got to have that hook, right? When you tell a story, you got to have that hook. You got to capture the reader's attention or the viewer's attention. Same thing here, right? So what's that hook going to be? How are you going to capture our attention? What's the wow factor, right? We want to make this face over here in the top right corner of the screen.
And you know that first moment, it can, as Eric was saying, it can come from any direction. It could be an unbelievable thing that you figured out in Minecraft that surprises Eric, who is a master technician and builder of Minecraft machines. It could also be an auditory thing, you know, a sound, a bit of music that like it's our entry point. It could be a voiceover. It could be, you know, the beginning of the story and a visual. And whatever it is, you know, the minute you've got us hooked, we're in there. And now it's the next piece of the chain reaction that has to happen.
Exactly right. And there are so many ways to do it. And we'll talk about it as we break some of these down, right? Like how would we use humor to do it? Or how would we use a clever use of Minecraft to do it? How do we use theme to do it, right? What is the overall look? You know, is your video going to start with a big flyover of your machine and we look at all the things you've created and we feel like we're immersed in the setting you've created, right? We had to build, I think there's a clip of it in that intro reel that we did that takes place all in a kitchen, and then the camera kind of follows the whole machine throughout the house and ends up back in the kitchen. It was to find a cookbook, right? Because it was that open and eliminate a book challenge from last year. But immediately we could tell where we were and felt like we were already part of the story because here we are. We're in the place where it's going to happen. So that's where theme is. You know, we gave an example of that when Cleverlike and I were on here for tutorial 3 and we were in the backyard barbecue. That was kind of what we were going for, right? You know where we are and what we're doing here. So, you know, you can kind of start planning in your head. The viewer can say, oh, I wonder, like, I know where I am. I wonder what's going to happen here.
And Eric, I was going to point out exactly that in the last stream where we showed that amazing barbecue setting that you built. The challenge is build a lunch, but you created such a fantastic atmosphere where there was so much else going on in addition to lunch itself. And that's a lot of what theme is about.
Right. Where are you serving lunch? To whom are you serving lunch?
Right.
What is the lunch?
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, we often, when we were preparing for these tutorials, we were talking about, you know, wow, what would it be like to build, you know, a lunch in outer space to Martians? What do they eat? You know, I mean, you can go as far into the, realm of your imagination when imagining or, preparing or creating your Minecraft machine.
One of the things that's really great about this one, when we talk about creativity, and we're going to get to a slide on creativity. So, you know what? Maybe I'll put a pin in that one in my brain and save it for just that moment. Because now I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to get ahead of myself, right? But again, presentation, like how are you going to present it? Like what is the flow that the camera is going to follow? What are we going to see along the way? What is the verbal presentation and how does it match what's happening on screen? Sometimes that's simply narrating what's happening, but we've also heard like characters doing voice. So, people doing voiceovers of the characters that are, taking place throughout there or what's happening throughout. We saw reaction ones. I always think of you mentioned the potato one. I always think of that one because their narrative is like a reaction video to what they created, right? Like they're just reacting to what the machine is doing. Like it doesn't sound like they scripted anything, but it works so well because it's something we know now, right? Like in the YouTube and TikTok world, like reaction videos are a thing. So use that, like you can get creative with that. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, people watch the reaction videos because they can be really funny in how we react.
And it's, in real time when you're hearing the creators reacting to it and laughing amongst themselves, it's contagious. And it's sort of like that color commentary really was so appealing in that potato video.
Right. Look, it's going to show my age a little bit, but for those of us who grew up in the transition from like VHS tapes to DVDs, one of the really exciting things about DVDs is you could listen to the commentary instead of just the dialogue, right? Like the directors or the actors, whatever, would do commentary and we would hear them talk about the process of making the movie. And it was really enjoyable, like way more than you would think. Why do I want to hear people talk about it? Well, it was actually kind of fun to hear the people talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about here is really a second element of these challenges. One is build the machine, but then the second is when you're creating that flip video, this is where all of this storytelling comes into place and it really complements what you've done in your machines.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
So creative, this is one that really comes, points to like the Minecraft sort of creativity and expertise is the creative use of items. And anyone who has spent any time trying to build out something kind of perfect in Minecraft knows that you've got to get creative with the items, right? I think about the build in the backyard barbecue, right? Like there's no meat block, but we made hamburgers. Like, so we had to find a block that looked best for that use. One of the examples, and we have one on screen, is like if I'm building out a kitchen or a bathroom in my scene, there are no sinks or anything like that in Minecraft. So what did we use there, right? We use a cauldron and like a tripwire to make it look like a sink, like things that are in there that have a look, but that's not their intended use. And we have to get like one of the things that Minecraft kind of forces on us is if we want to make things really themed out and really creative and to look a certain way so that we want the viewer to know what they're looking at, we've got to get creative with those items that are in there.
Awesome.
Moving on, and I feel like this is a super important one. Maybe this is one where Jen really jumps in because, this is what makes a Rube Goldberg machine a Rube Goldberg machine. Like this is the heart of it right here. Is
cause and effect, and it's one thing after another that leads to sort of the kinetic aspect of your build, which means how do we move from one step to the next to the next, and you can be as creative as you want to be, again, using all the tools at your disposal in different ways that you might not have ordinarily considered. And that's where, Eric shows me, and every time I see these tutorials and then we review the submissions, I'm getting an education in Minecraft, and it's so incredibly creative. And he is always surprised every time by something never thought of.
There are always ways that I found like students in their submissions have figured out a way to get one thing to trigger the next thing. And I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that. Or I never would have thought to use that way. And that's the goal, right? To really just kind of spark that creativity. And sometimes those moments happen by accident. I wonder how many times even in physical Rube Goldberg machines, someone realizes something falling a certain way or swinging a certain way and goes, wait a minute, I could totally do this.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you need inspiration for just elements and chain reactions, you can go to our website and we have Rube Goldberg TV. And we have all of these curated videos, mostly, I mean, there are some Minecraft ones in there, but mostly of live builds. And see what people are doing out there. See how it how you can use some of what you see in real life and maybe, translate it into Minecraft.
Exactly
That's a
right.
great idea.
And that's what we ask actually with the simple machines too, right? Is how do you translate these into Minecraft? Because some of them exist, right? I can make an inclined plane with rail, but pulleys certainly don't exist. So how do I make that happen?
And what's nice is when you put not just one simple machine or representation of a simple machine into your build, what if you were to put all of them in at various steps along the way and see what that does? Because the more different kind of ways you think about these triggers or transfers of energy, the more interesting your build will be. So it's not just a series of marble runs or domino runs or a combination of the two, but it has levers and pulleys and wheel and axles all represented within the body of your build.
Right. And I'll just remind everyone, if you are newer to the Rube Goldberg competitions that we run, we did a whole series of streams around how to build the 6 simple machines in Minecraft. And so if you go to the Rube Goldberg page on the NASEF website and scroll down to the bottom, we have links for watch our previous streams to help you with your build. And just watch those ones from 2021. It says right there, watch our streams about the 6 simple machines. So if you're just getting started and you're trying to figure out how this sounds amazing, I want to do it, but I don't know how, go back and watch some of those first streams and those will help you get started.
And when I watch those, I'm like, I'm still here because we've had so much, like we've had great people along the way. And I love going back and watching those because I'm like, I miss some of the great people we've worked with along the way, but I'm still going.
Absolutely.
All right. So humor. Oh, how I love to talk humor.
This is a big one when it comes to Rube because
Absolutely.
he was trained as an engineer, which he didn't do for very long, and he quit to become a cartoonist. So all the Rube Goldberg machines you may or may not have seen in your life, they were theoretically they could work if you had cooperative animals and you had enough time and space for this to happen. In theory they'd work, but Rube really didn't care about that. He just wanted to make you laugh. So we have a giant, big kind of banner over this thing. Make us laugh. The funnier your machine is, the happier we will be. So even, there are many ways you can make a machine funny.
Absolutely. One of the ones, and you heard some of it again in that intro, sometimes it's not what you say, right? Because the voiceover, right, can be, or the narrative can be the funny part, but sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. And we've seen so many examples of that. We shared some examples on the previous tutorial streams. So if you haven't seen those, I recommend you go back and watch because it'll help with all sorts like submission as well. But right, like we saw, we've had examples. Oh, go ahead, Jen. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, the picture, you just brought up the picture that we have in the right-hand corner is of the chef.
The chef.
And the chef is a character we have never forgotten. And every time this team would talk about the chef, we always we loved it. So and it seems silly, just 2 words that would put a big smile on our faces, but it worked.
It really, really worked, and we've heard people just use like a very clever voice. Like, look, I think about it and I'm like, would SpongeBob be as funny if he was just like, "Hi, I'm SpongeBob"?
Right.
Right? Like it's the voice. It's
right.
the voice. So the voice matters, how it's delivered matters. And then of course the opposite can also be funny. We saw sort of that deadpan humor, dry humor in the ice cream machine video that we shared when we were talking about like what makes a great simple machine, right? And that was that humor example that we gave was and that was a real world one. How he kind of just stood there with like blank expression on his face, just waiting for the sprinkles to just, end up all over him, shower him. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And then, of course, surprise. Like, and this goes back to the wow factor, but this is more like, what's going to kind of keep wowing us throughout it? What are the things where we like halfway through the machine, we're going to go like, oh, that was so cool. I'm going to watch that again. What's going to delight us, as the viewer?
the example you just gave of the sprinkles shooting out, you knew he was
Right.
standing there waiting for something because he was standing.
You're right.
but
You
didn't
knew
know what
something
it
was coming.
Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't ready to turn off the camera. It was
Right.
we
Right.
knew there was more coming.
There's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the construction of it all. Like, how well did you put it all together? Does it look like you were in a rush and you got it all done last minute? Or does it look like, you took the time to consider how you built it out? Does it have great detail? Can we understand what we're looking at from it? Does it look, great in the context that you've created? Is it just consistently like kind of encapsulating everything you want it to be? And is it going to be just great to look at?
Well, what's so cool about Minecraft is
Yeah.
you can really create these landscapes and environments that are magical and
Yeah.
like spark delight and your viewer's imagination. I mean, I look at this image that's in the upper right hand corner now, and I mean, I remember when we saw that, and it just it's transporting. It could be a movie. You
Well, that's
wanna
the
know
beauty of
what
it, right? Like Minecraft, like we look at that image and, either they, did some, Photoshop imagery and whatever, because the reality is Minecraft doesn't, unless you're using mods and things, which we're going to talk about in a little while, which you're not supposed to, it doesn't always look like that, right? It's a block world. It's very basic. But there's so much you can do to beautify it. And that's one of the things I love about Minecraft is how do you take the very simple and make it the very complex?
Absolutely.
And then, of course, teamwork. Ultimately, this is a team event. This is a team competition. We want to know how well you worked together, and we want to see, that in the final build, right? And we'll know that happened when we look at some of these things, because very often in the narratives or in the walkthroughs or in the submissions, you'll talk about who your teammates are. Or we'll see those people flying around like to the different parts of the machine as they're going, or they're taking us on like a group tour through the machine.
Yeah.
We can see the teamwork in action, and we can see, what
And-
the outcome of all of that hard work was.
Teamwork in the live builds is very obvious. We
Yeah.
see it firsthand. You're walking through watching, the kids compete and build and reset their machines, but it's more subtle here. And we love getting a sense of how you are connecting with your teammates and
Absolutely.
how it translates on screen.
Right. And that's something that you could add in those videos that you submit is when you're narrating about a certain aspect, maybe mention how your team worked on that as, the individual members all coming together rather than just going straight through the story.
And keep in mind, you're also going to share, and we're going to talk about submission, 2 examples of that run. We want to see it run twice, 2 videos, just running it once and then running it again. If one of those includes your narrative, your voiceover, that's great. If the second one is more of a sort of walkthrough of what you did and who did what and how you built that and where you came up with that idea, sort of the director's commentary, if you will, then that's great as well. We'd love to hear it.
That's a great idea. I love it.
It is.
And again, this is, how well did we use those elements that were in there? So not just did we use them creatively, but how well did we use them? Like, how well did we use the entities that are in there, right? Like using, like, we've seen examples of like the fox chasing the chicken, or how well did we use, the redstone elements? How well did we use any of it, really? The things that can be used to trigger those other things, the tripwires, whatever it may be. How well did we make those work within the context of our machine? The rail car, right? And I stress the rail car because there are really great ways to use the rail car, and it's an awesome element to put in your build, but it should not be the whole build. You are not giving us a roller coaster. We want to see those changes, transfers in energy. We want to see those triggering of events to different kinds of events and a variety of events that make the whole machine function.
I urge
Right.
you, if you're not familiar with Rube's work, there's a gallery of his invention cartoons on our website. All you have to do is go to rubegoldberg.org and go to the gallery. You'll see almost every Rube Goldberg machine is made from random household objects, things that you could imagine translating into Minecraft.
And then, of course, the big build challenge itself, which is to build a lunch. And again, this is something we shared when we did our tutorial 3, and Brian was on with us, which is, what are we making for lunch? Who are we making it for? Where are we making it? How are we representing it on screen? There are so many ways to do it. And it doesn't have to be even this larger than life. We kind of built everything at like this massive scale when we did it. And we've seen others do it that way too. The kitchen one was an example, but not everyone does it that way. Sometimes they do it at Minecraft scale. And there are food items in there. And I just picture now like just them endlessly pouring onto a person the way the sprinkles sort of showered down in that one ice cream video. You could do that in Minecraft. Absolutely, right? Like, we're not telling you. One of the best things about this particular challenge, I think about last year's challenge, and I loved last year's challenge because it did have a different way to be creative, right? Like, what was the book about? What was the narrative? Why are they illuminating? How are you going to illuminate it? How is this book going to open? Because that's not really a thing here. All of that is great. But Build a Lunch is a whole other level of freedom and creativity, I think, because we can't tell you you're wrong for whatever you serve for lunch. If we did this with the bun, and instead of the hamburger patty in between, it was a watermelon on a bun, who are we to say that that's wrong? That's a lunch. It's not our lunch. I don't want to eat it, but it's
especially if you're serving a raccoon, and so you get to tell the whole story. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we would have been better off serving him trash. That's what he wants, right?
I like the idea of a watermelon sandwich though on a bun.
That's right.
Good.
But that's my point. Like, you get to determine what lunch is. We don't even get to say. You get to determine how you're going to serve it. You get to determine who you serve it to, where you serve it, how you do it. And all of those things are like, you have endless freedom in all of those decisions. And so the creativity is boundless. And I can't think, to be honest, of a better way to really work in that humor element, because when you've got that much freedom, it's like Mad Libs, right? We could put anything in those places. And if we put weird enough stuff in each of those spots, we're going to end up with something funny, right? Like,
it's true. That is such a good analogy.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into some of the basics that are important for your build. We did talk about the 6 simple machines. We want to see at least 4 of those represented in your build. So you don't have to do all of them, but we want to see at least 4 examples and show us that you understand them. And the way you're going to do that, we'll talk about submission, is there's also going to be a walkthrough document that you need to submit, talking about the steps of your machine, and that's where you would include, like, this is where we did our example of a wedge, or this is where we did our example of a screw as the, let's say the rail car goes, up a ramp that twists around a pole. So those are where you're going to include those things. The 10 transitions or transfers of energy, so basically we want to see 10 sort of triggers, right? One event triggering a next event, a next event, a next event, at least 10 times. Obviously, we want to see that it ends by solving the problem. So we should see something that looks like Build a Lunch. In the past, we've gotten really cool machines, and then the ending wasn't the challenge. And we were like, but what happened? You did so good, and then you forgot, like, the eliminate the book. Or, you...
There were a few of those from last year. I remember, oh my God, it's an amazing machine. I can't wait to see how it ends. And it never had the right ending.
Yeah, right.
Don't forget, we need to see it complete the task.
That's right. Ultimately, it does need to complete the task of building a lunch. It should range from 1 minute minimum to 5 minute maximum. So make sure as you're building your machine and you're testing it, your timing, it should run for longer than a minute. It should not run longer than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have all of the specifications, and all of this can be found in the team guide, so make sure you look through that carefully. We're also going to share this slide deck so that educators or teams, if you want to share this with your fellow teammates or you want to share it with your students and actually break down, make sure they know what we're looking for step by step and go over all of this context that we're going over, or content that we're going over right now. You'll have this. Making sure that they know they have to complete that task of building a lunch. That they need to use Education Edition. And if you don't have it, you can still register, and you can get free licenses for Education Edition from the folks at NASEF, because they're wonderful and delightful and amazing and want to give you good stuff to learn stuff and do stuff.
We want everyone to have the same opportunity, no matter who you are or where you are. So that's why we provide these. Challenges are free. Have we mentioned yet that it's totally free to participate?
We like to put the word free up there. We should just
free.
have like one of those big flashing free on the screen the whole time.
Yes, it's free.
Which Minecraft world types you should be using as you construct your build. The number of simple machines, which we just talked about, was 4. The number of steps, which should be 10. There is no maximum on that, so 10 is the bare minimum.
Go crazy.
The more changes we see in that 5 minute max, the better. the theatrical or verbal presentation length. Specifically, what we're talking about there is if you're going to provide like a voiceover introduction in your video, keep that down to 2 minutes before we actually see the 5-minute run of the machine. Of course, the runtime length then of the machine itself, and that is literally from the time in your world you press the start button or however your machine is going to start to the time it ends and we see a lunch being built, should be a 1 minute minimum to a 5-minute maximum. And that is from the start of the run of the machine to the end of the run of the machine. That does not include any voiceover that takes place before you start the machine.
So then you could end up theoretically with a 7-minute video, a 2-minute intro, and then a 5-minute runtime of the machine itself.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that would be at the max.
That'd be at the
Yes.
the outside.
I do have to watch all of these, so I don't even mind. Go for 7 minutes. I'll watch it.
There
I
we
promise. So here are the things you are and are not allowed to use in your build. So you are absolutely allowed to use commands and command blocks. You are absolutely allowed to use Code Builder. In fact, we saw some preseason examples for like the first time where students were using Code Builder, which we'd love to see. Mods are not allowed. We want to keep the playing field level, and so we want everyone to use the same tools that are at their disposal in Education Edition. Texture packs specifically are not allowed. And then, of course, third-party editing softwares, things like World Edit, MC Edit, and Amulet are also not allowed. And, we've had some students to say, well, how would you know? This is what we do for a living at Clever Like. So there are clues. There are tools that are built into things like World Edit that when we see those kind of patterns in there and those things in there, and we look at the scale of things that are being cloned into the world, there are clues. So, we do look for those things. We give you the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes it's kind of flagrant,
Well, and how about if you devote your energy to being creative on your own instead of devoting your energy to how can I slide this in?
Right. You spend that much time doing that, you might as well have just built it.
Just build it.
I have noticed that sometimes. I'll be like, I could have just built this by now. Why did I try to figure out this other way to do it?
Right.
And then, of course, prizes. And Claire, I'm going to let you take prizes because, NASAF
I'm always so
prizes.
excited because first off, it's free. And then secondly, you can receive Amazon gift cards. So does it get any better than that? So we have the junior division, the senior division, and the at-home division, as always. And so we have different prizes for each level. First place receives all kinds of good things, certificates and being showcased on our social media, and free admission into the analog Rube Goldberg machine contest, and then the $200 Amazon gift card for your team, which is pretty awesome. Second place receives a $150 Amazon gift card, and then third place receives a $100 Amazon gift card. So make sure you do your best and get those entries in.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about how to get those entries in. I think that's the next step. And by the way, that slide deck at the end also includes some brief information on the 6 simple machines. So if that's some information, we don't have to share it again. They need to just know it's there. So if they're going to share that slide deck and they're like, oh, I wanted some info on 6 simple machines, that info is in that slide deck towards the end as well. We've done whole video streams, literally spending an entire hour talking about just one simple machine. So we don't want this particular stream to go that long. We could be here all day talking about simple machines. That information is there for you. So access it anytime you'd like it. And anytime you need it. And of course, there's tons of great resources online for this information as well. And probably in your science textbooks. So, with that in mind, I do want to share my screen and share the NASAF website so we can talk about how do I register if I'm not registered yet? How do I submit when I'm ready to submit? And I've got my build exactly how I want it. And here is where to do it. Everything is like in one place. This has been wonderful that over the years we have found better and better ways to kind of consolidate all this and say, how do we get it all in one place with really obvious big buttons so everyone knows where to go and what to do. And you all have nailed it because here we are. So if we go to nasef.org/Rube-Goldberg, and again, if you go to the nasef.org website and you actually just go to play right here and go to the Minecraft competitions, you'll find the link to come here as well. But if you haven't registered yet, the registration link is there. If you are registering your teams and they need those free copies of Education Edition, there's a little checkbox And that says, yes, I need copies of it, and I need this many copies for my team, and that's all you've got to do to get your free licenses for the duration of the event. Next, right below it, big button, submit your big build. Now remember, there are technically 3 parts to this. Obviously, you need to be registered. That's not even one of the parts. But there are 3 parts to this. And let's talk about how to do that. So the first is that you do need to submit through Flip, and the Flip links and the team guides and everything you need individually, and the submission links are all here. Remember, you're choosing when you register a one of the divisions, whether that's the junior division, the senior division, or the all ages division, and those descriptions of what those include are right here. So if you're an elementary team, it'll clearly be the junior division. If you're like a high school team, it's going to be the senior division. Middle school, it may depend. If you're an 8th grade group of 13-year-olds, you may be into the senior division. If you are a group of 6th graders, then maybe you'll be in that junior division. So use those age ranges to guide you. And if there's an overlap, then I know it says at home, but this is an all ages division, and the goal is to allow teams that are a variety of ages to work together. So let's say, for example, I'm at the I'm doing all ages. I mean, look at me. Am I going to fit into the 8 to 18-year-old category? No. So let's say I'm going to participate. I'm not eligible, but let's say I'm going to participate in the at-home all ages category, right? Clicking there would take me to the place where I can submit. I can join that topic. I can log in, and I can do that. And again, I have shared how to submit via Flip on all our other streams. So if you don't know, go back, watch some of those. We have some video tutorials. And links. And of course, Flip, if you go to flip.com, they have tutorials as well that'll show you how to submit and share screen and all of that and submit videos, or to upload a video if you've already got it recorded. And remember, you're submitting not 1, and this is in the team guide, but 2 runs of that. So you're going to submit that Flip twice. You're going to do 1 run through, and then you're going to come back to the Flip, and you're going to submit a 2nd run through so that we have 2 examples and we can see your machine running. And part of the reason for that is Rube Goldberg machine, one of the things it's supposed to do is run on its own. Once you start it, you just kind of put your hands up and let it go. We follow it around like the camera, but we're not hitting buttons throughout the thing or not stepping on the pressure plate to trigger the next event. The machine should do that automatically. It's a chain reaction. Chain reactions don't need people to interfere in the middle of them to make them continue. Then it's not a chain reaction because it's not chaining together. So, we want to see that happening. So you want to make sure your camera work is clear and shows us that really clearly. And then, of course, you're also going to submit your big build on the Google form. And if we click on the Google form, here is where you will choose your division. You'll basically fill out all the information. And I'm not going to fill this out, and it won't let me go on. But one of the things it's going to ask you to do is upload that document, that Word doc, or whatever it is you choose to do it at, Google Doc, whatever it may be, that talks about the at least 10 steps of transfers of energy in your 4 simple machines in that doc. Now, if you've got 30 transfers of energy, which we would love to see, then list them so that we know, that way when we watch the video, we have that guide and say, oh yeah, look, it did that. Oh, it's going to do that. Oh, it did that. Oh, that, and because sometimes we can't see perfectly what's happening. So describe it to us. It gives us a guide of what we're looking at. Yeah.
True for even if you're competing in a live competition, we always ask for a step list. It's so important for us to be able to know the thinking behind your build.
Absolutely. All right. So we've got all of those things. And if you've got those things, if you've got your registered, you've got your 2 video examples, and you've got your sheet in with all of the steps, right, the walkthrough, then you're good. That's everything you need in order to submit successfully. And that's what we want to see. And if you meet those criteria, then you are eligible to win all of the amazing prizes that Claire has listed before us. Because we're always going to go back to prizes, because yay, prizes.
Right? Although this is one of those things, I guess for the teams, the prizes are amazing. For us, we are so excited to see the builds and see the creativity. I cannot wait to see all the different ways that lunch is defined and all the different locations where lunch is going to be eaten. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, and
It is.
I mean, this competition wraps around the world, and where we are, it might be our lunch looks different from where you might be, living. So we want to see that too, if that's what inspires your build.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
speaking
exactly
of
it.
prizes, Eric, don't we have something exciting?
We do. We have some prizes to announce, which is super, super exciting. But before we do, see, you always got to do that hook. You got to go, here come the prizes. Not quite. No, stay tuned. You have to. I want to share at least one example. I know we got a lot of information in this stream, but one of the things we didn't get a chance to do is share some of the examples of preseason challenge 2, where the students had to take what they built in preseason challenge 1 and add a little bit of theme or story or narrative to it. And so we're going to share at least one. We'll see how time goes here. But I've got one queued up already, and this is from the Team Bizarre Zombies. And so this was their example from submission 2. Again,
Even the name puts a smile on your face.
I know, right?
So true.
And again, this is not, remember, our winners are raffle chosen, but we did want to share some good examples because all of these things matter when it comes time to the big build. So let's look at an example. So I loved this one for so many reasons, and I want to remind the viewers this was a preseason build, right? So you're saying, oh, it doesn't have all 10, or oh, they got kind of their hands on involved at the end there. But the run was simply from when they hit the button until the anvil fell on the zombie's head, which, by the way, I cannot believe this is the first time we've seen a falling anvil on somebody's head when it's a Rube Goldberg machine. Because, like, I think of every Tom and Jerry cartoon, I remember, like, the falling anvil is like a staple, right? Like, and finally we got a falling anvil. But you know, it used music cleverly. It had a kind of fun, clever story that they kind of just threw in there because these were the preseasons. They didn't have to abide by the build a lunch. This was, they could make whatever narrative and just show that they understood the concept of theme and narrative, which they did. They added a weird, fun story in there about why they had to stop the zombie. And again, didn't have to be much. This was just 3 or 4 steps of because the first part of it was build a 3 or 4 step, chain reaction machine. And then it was throw a narrative in there, make it funny, do whatever. Yeah, perfect. Nailed it.
And they got our attention right up front with that music.
Yes.
Absolutely. That music was like perfect
music
for that,
was
right?
great. It was
Loved
great.
Loved it.
Yes. I liked the captions too. Eric, are those okay in the regular season submissions?
So they're absolutely allowed to use captions. I would recommend that if you're going to use captions or like titles or whatever, and you want to do that, remember, you're submitting 2 videos. Use those on one that you would be the one that you would want us to share on stream, because it's sometimes the titles or those can get in the way of what we're looking at in the machine. And if you're concerned about that, then just don't do it on one of your 2 submissions. So one of them we can see everything is happening, and the other one's got the narrative and the titles that you want to include.
Awesome.
So it's a good question.
I'm glad we had a chance to see that video. And so let's go ahead and share the raffle winners.
All right, raffle winners for challenge 2. And again, these raffle winner teams will each win $100 Amazon gift card for the team. Now, it's not individually, it's for the team, but you can still do some cool stuff as a team.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So the 3 teams that have won our raffles, they submitted, they met the criteria, and they were entered in the raffle, and their names were drawn, were Team Uno, submitted by Talal T.
Woo, woo, woo. Woohoo!
That's right. Team Riders submitted by Yassine H.
Yeah!
And Team Redstone Builders, which was submitted by Nicolay B.
Woohoo!
So those three
Congratulations.
teams, I know that NASF will be in touch. And congratulations.
Congrats. Very excited. We can't wait to see the builds. Next step.
Right.
And we have
Right.
one more sort of at least acknowledgement to give out, and we will be in touch with the educators and the students involved. But we did have, when we did our live stream tutorial 3, we gave away the world file that we were playing in and said there's a secret space in there, and we wanted you to find it. And we had some groups that posted to Twitter because they found it, and that's what we said there was a secret instruction, and that was the secret instruction, was to take to social media and tweet out those images and to tag certain groups, and we had some teams to do it. And I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Sheridan's teams at Hout Gap Middle School, not elementary school, middle school, Hout Gap Middle School, for being some of the first to get those in. So we'll be in touch.
And you're going to
Congratulations.
win these really cool hologram stickers. I don't know if
Those
you can
are, yeah. I was like, those are like
Yeah.
limited
Oh,
edition
yes.
too, right? How many of those even
Wow.
exist?
So
Not many.
your phone
Those are
doesn't
so
look
cool.
like my phone.
That's right. Jen, how many of those stickers even exist? They're pretty limited edition,
Not
right?
many. They're
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 120, I think, something like that.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. Well,
All right,
you have
so-
all kinds of info now on what to do to submit
That's right,
your
that's
big
right.
build challenges. So
And Claire, if you could throw the slide deck up, because this is like our
sure
last
thing.
point to make here before we send off with some cool video stuff.
Yep.
This is what's to come. So registration is still open for about 2 weeks, a little bit less, through Thursday, March 2nd. And then final submissions are just under a month. Tuesday, March 21st is when your final submissions and your 2 videos and your form should be in and ready to go. And we do have some time deadlines on there, so keep an eye on that. Inevitably, I always get contacted on Twitter or email that says, we were trying to submit and we couldn't. I look at the time and I'm like, you're 2 minutes late. And then, we try to be nice, but, stay on top of those. We do want you to
Yes.
stay on top of those.
Don't wait until
The last-
7:59 to try
That's
to
right,
upload.
that's right.
Yeah. Give yourself a little bit of room for technical glitches, because we all know those happen.
And then, of course, a week after those final submissions, we go live again with our awards stream, which means I'm going to have a very busy week, hopefully.
Absolutely. Right?
That's right.
Yes, we're going to be watching lots of videos.
I
We
cannot
can't
wait. Honestly, it's the best week, so I'm excited by it.
It is. Yeah. Even just that one you just shared, one little example of what they're up to this year. I can't wait to see what we get.
I know, me too. Well, good
So-
luck.
It's going to be great.
everybody.
Yeah, so reminder to everyone that this is all found on the Rube Goldberg page at nasef.org. So again, it's nasef.org/Rube-Goldberg. Or you could also find it by going to the play menu and then clicking on the Minecraft competitions link and find us there. And all the information that you need is there. I can't think of a single tool that you need to be able to create amazing machines that is not on that web page. So make sure you go there, check out the dates. That's where your forums are, your guides are, the streams. If you need advice on the engineering design process or the 6 simple machines, you will find it all there. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to leave you with a little bit of inspiration from Rube Goldberg machines in the real world, not in the Minecraft world. So take a look at these and we will see you all soon.
Bye, everybody.
See you later, I'ma better see you want. They are jealous of me. I do what I want when I want. They are jealous of me. I do what I want when I want. They are jealous of me. Win you over, no way. Oh, you can hear my voice in your head.